Well, hello everybody, and thanks for coming to join me tonight on the different platforms. It's good to be here. And tonight's topic of discussion is the polyvagal theory. Now, that's a big word, polyvagal. What does that mean? Well, it relates to the vagal nerve, which is the biggest nerve in the body related to the parasympathetic nervous system. 80% of the parasympathetic nervous system relates to this component of the component of the vagal nerve, and 80% of it is about the sensory information coming from your body, which is your organs, heart, lungs, your digestive tract, your pancreas, and even down your bladder. So your organs, your organs in your body are giving sensory input all the way up through the vagal nerve into the brain and the brain stem. And the vagal nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. There's 12 that relate to the functions of the head and neck typically. But this nerve is like a wandering nerve that comes up into the brain, but also goes down, and it's the motor component down to the voice box, or your swallowing in your pharynx. So that's related to these aspects, and also the control of the heart rate, your breathing, and also your intestines. So this is an amazing nerve that really has been understudied. And certainly when I finished medical school in 1995, there was very little said about it. But thanks to a gentleman called Stephen Porges in Indiana, he published this book about 10 years ago. And it's called The Polyvagal Theory, the Neurophysiological Foundations of Emotions, Attachments, Communication, and Self-Regulation. So Stephen has been studying this since the late 1960s. And lots of studies done over the 90s and the 2000s, and coming together with the accumulation of his data into this pivotal book that really explains what the vagal nerve is. And the reason it's the theory is because he's dived into lots of different disorders and situations, like people's behaviors around autism, or people's diagnoses of bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder. And he's went back to first principles and done research on this to try and explain why people have certain behaviors. And it's truly marvelous what he's come up with. You know, in the world of pain, you've probably heard of the fight-flight response. Well, that's part of not just the sympathetic nervous system, that's the part that is to do with fear, but there's also other components of the vagus nerve being switched off during this, and they're therefore contributing to it. So it's a highly technical subject, and it's not as simple as, you know, sympathetic nervous system is switched on and the parasympathetic switched off. There's a bit more to it. So that's what this book is about. And I thought I'd just share it because if you're interested in understanding the science behind the vagus nerve, behind the rest and digest, the rest and repair response of the body, then this is the book to read. So I'm just going to share what he's put together as an evolutionary understanding of this nerve. And you know, if you go back in time, millions and millions of years, when there was only reptiles on the earth, and you know, they had to have a survival mechanism, and part of this was feigning death. So if a bigger animal came along to eat it, it would feign death, and maybe the animal would run away and move on and not attack that smaller animal. So that is related to the phase 1 of the evolution regarding this nerve, and that relates in the human these days to the supply from the brain and the brainstem all the way down to below the diaphragm, which is where the intestines and the digestive organs are. So that's an unmyelinated sheath. That just means that there's slower conductance and there's less protection around it with this fatty layer and all mammals and reptiles have got this component of the vagal nerve. The second phase on the evolution was the fight-flight response. So, in comparison to the first, which is more of a freeze response, you get the second phase, which is the fight-flight, which is the dominance of the cortisol and adrenaline and norepinephrine running around the body, flying around the body and the blood system, and getting ready to increase that cardiac output and to run away from the threat. Kind of makes sense, right? And as an evolutionary step, it's been a part of the survival of the species. But the brilliant work I found is in the phase 3 of the evolutionary understanding of this vagal nerve or polyvagal theory. And it ties in to a little nucleus in the brainstem called the nucleus ambiguus. And that has got a myelinated sheath that has a pathway from deep inside the brain stem to the face and the voice box, and also your muscles of the neck. And this is all to do with social or pro-social behavior. So just think about this a minute. Your emotional expressions are related to this component of the vagal nerve. Your moods, your affect has been shown through studies. Your vocal communication, what we're doing right now. I'm talking and you're listening. And there's a component also that involves attentive listening as well. And that's related to the 8th cranial nerve. Gestures of the face, like when you're maybe confused, you got a face like this, or interested in somebody, maybe lean forward with your body and turn your head, maybe tilt your head a little bit. And all this tilting of the head is the muscles here and the scalenes, and that's related to this aspect of this nerve. So it's a highly complex evolutionary advantage for communication to occur. There's not too much dialogue going on between the tigers and the lions, but there's a lot of language going on amongst humans and more evolved mammals like apes. And so this is what his theory has been. And I really appreciated just the last chapter I read tonight on the borderline personality, where it shows that the part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex here at the front, is smaller in people with borderline personality. And that's related to, I think it was in the 1800s it was diagnosed initially as a mix or a cross between neurotic and psychotic illnesses. So anxiety type, and then you're more severe psychotic. And it's people who have difficulty with relationships, difficulty in communication, holding down jobs. And this deeply relates to the third phase of this nerve. And it's a theory that conditions like mental health is related to a dysfunction of the vagal nerve. So the vagal nerve is related to not just pain, but other diseases as well. Autism, when you get the children with severe autism and they're rocking back and forth to comfort themselves, and they're you'd be saying the same statements over and over again. They're poor social communication, and so that's the theory ties to that as well, because it's again a dysfunctional component of the vagal nerve complex. So this is brand new information to me, really, when you get into the details of the science, and it's a lifetime's work. And I think as we move forward in time, we'll look back at Stephen Porges' work, and I hope he gets recognised for his pioneering input, because when we can understand the vagal nerve more, then we can understand repairing our bodies more. And it's what happens when we're resting and sleeping, is this part of the nervous system is stimulated. And when we're mindful and practicing meditation, this is the part of the nervous system that's being stimulated. And it's kind of the opposite of living a life of stress, worry, fear, the things that drive pain. And the opposite, then happy emotions, joy, peace, love, relaxation, having fun. As somebody said today, I wish somebody told me to dance, when I was younger, because she loves to dance, you know, and that's part of that rest and repair part of the nervous system that rejuvenates us, rejuvenates our whole bodies and our mind and also our soul. And we should be doing these things as much as possible. So if you're struggling with pain and you're struggling with finding solutions, just go to the activities that you find are making you happy, make you smile. In fact, just put a smile on your face. It's hard to be depressed if you got a smile on your face. And the smile on your face relates to this third component of the vagal nerve. So it's fascinating. We can just turn our emotions around by just doing simple things if you've got a basic understanding of your neuroanatomy and neurophysiology, and therefore neuroscience and up-to-date science from this century. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this little techie talk on the science of the vagal nerve, the polyvagal theory. If you want to dive into it a bit more, get the book, Polyvagal Theory, and Stephen Porges has done a phenomenal work in his lifetime doing this. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll give a couple of waves to those who are here. It's good to see you. And I look forward to next week when I'll be on again, sharing yet another subject matter that's close to my heart, that relates to pain and relates to healing pain, because you can change your brain and heal your pain. Thanks. You take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining the course. I look forward to seeing you next time.